Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to look at this fantastic Christmas stamp that's out at the moment currently in our Close to My Heart seasonal release, and it's called a Furry Merry Christmas. Now this has become extremely popular and you can kind of see why, because it is such cute little images. So the actual size of the stamps is slightly bigger than this image is showing, and we have got a set of die cuts to match the shapes as well. So some people I know are choosing just to purchase the lovely stamp set, and others that have a die cutting machine and who like to have a nice accurate clear cut around the outside are going for the set with the die cuts included. So what we're going to do today is create one of the set of 4 cards that I have packaged together as a little kit. So my kit includes the stamp set or stamp and thin cut set, your choice, and for an extra $10 you get 4 cards pre-cut for you with all the essential pieces you need to create the slightly interactive elements that are on some and to just put together the others. So I'm going to make 4 separate videos showing you how to put these cards together. This is the first of the 4, and we're going to focus on this fun slimline style card, and you'll actually see a very similar image of this card in our catalogue. So this is the slimline card that has got got 2 cute little kittens on the front. Obviously you can change it up to include the puppies instead if you would prefer, and change up your sentiment as well. So let's get started, and you can see how I put this cute little card together. So I'll leave this one up here for a bit of reference. Hopefully you can still see that on the screen. Now the first thing you need to do is pre-cut some of your little puppies or kittens, I guess you're saying, which I have already done in my little kit. The rest of the pieces that are in here come with the kit as shown. So you should have some little strips of the green, you should have a nice big piece of white daisy ready to decorate, and a piece of background paper, which I've chosen to use the green side, but there is a really cute candy cane look as well, which could be your background. Now these are the pieces you're going to have to pre-cut. So you're going to have to pre-cut the larger shape for the larger cat, the smaller cat in the box, a cute little bow piece, and then the standard bow piece. So there's 4 pieces you'll need to pre-cut. If you're someone that prefers to stamp first and then cut, obviously do it that way. Or if you're hand trimming, again, you're going to have to do it that way. So what I'll do now is just quickly stamp up these images. So I use, I tend to cut first and then stamp, which is my direction. And I use the intense black ink. And the reason we're going to do that is that we will be colouring in today. Now hopefully mine will dry in time for when I do the colouring in, but it is a good idea to pre-stamp and then maybe leave it for half an hour or so, just so that you don't get too many blended and fuzzy lines from the ink. The idea, I've actually torn my little stamp. Someone else has used this stamp and I hadn't seen that happen, so let me just rectify that. We'll just put it together. It's not a problem, but let's just put it together again and stamp it up. Yeah, so it does definitely pay to let it dry off a little bit before colouring in with our markers. Now I'm just going to hold this down here. The intense black, some people's intense black, if they've got a newer version, is quite rich and very juicy. Mine was one of the originals, so I do know that I need to press a little bit longer to get that nice clean image to come through, which is what I have done there. So that's one of our cute little kittens, and the other one is peeping out of a box, so I'll just grab that one now as well. And we will stamp that one ready for our colouring in. I might actually need a slightly bigger block, but we'll just see. Oh, that one's working fine. Let's ink them up and go straight down. Hold it for a good few seconds without wriggling or anything, and straight back up. You will notice I have used the carrier sheet that comes in the stamp set to press down on when stamping to get the clearest image. Now there's 2 other little stamps we also need to do. Pop those to one side. We need to do the little bow and the other little bow, the little cluster of ribbon for the top of the gift. Well, actually it's on the top of the kitten in this case, but let's just pop that one down and up. And then we will grab one more block. I'm actually quite loving this size block. It's a new size. It's 1.5 inches by 1 instead of just our normal little 1 by 1. And a lot of things fit nicely on this block, and it gives you a lot of manipulation because you can hold it really close in your hand but still see right through it. So I am quite loving the block size. So I press that down for a few seconds and we've got a nice little image there as well. So that is all the stamping that is required. It's a good idea now to get your stamp chamois out and clean up your stamps and put them to one side. Now the next thing we're going to do while we let that set for a little bit is to construct the card. It's a very simple card, this one. We are just going to grab your base piece. I think it does have a right way and a wrong way, so we'll just put it the right way. And I'm just going to actually adhere this flat to the base piece, but if you like lots of dimension, this is where you could lift it up with some foam tape. Now often for flat cardstock onto paper, I will use this green glue, sometimes the blue glue as well, especially for card making, because the blue glue does give a really nice stiff finish, which makes the card a little bit more strong. This will do fine, it's what I've got available at the moment. And I just go around the outside edge. We'll pop this one in. And there should be just a little 1/8 border all the way around, which just gives a nice little finish to the card itself. Now we've also got these strips. Now I have pre-cut the long strip for you, and I have placed this, I'll just double check for you, but yes, I've placed this at 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom, and it should fit nicely along there. Now for this one being a little bit skinny, I could use the wet glue as well, or I can use my Mono Air. It's quite a nice size sticky that comes out of here, so that covers this really well. And this new tape runner is fabulous to use, guys. It is really lovely and smooth. It's a little bit more forgiving. You can move it once you have placed it down. If you place it slightly wrong, you can lift it up and move it without making too much of an issue, but it does adhere reasonably quickly, so you only can do that pretty soon after first adhering it down. Now this one is going to be 1 inch in, and you will find the way that I cut it, I just used one big long 12-inch strip. You've got a little bit of extra overhang, so you'll just need to cut off, it's about 1/2 inch, I think, yes, just over 1/2 inch off. Trim it off, and that's going to stick down here, so I'll just pop a little bit of glue onto that as well, and that's going to go 1 inch in from the outside edge. And I use my mat because I can line up the top and the bottom and get it pretty straight. Right, so going back to our card, we're going to be putting our little cute kittens on once we've coloured them, but we've also got the time now to do a little sentiment. Now, in the background of the sentiment, I have got my Distress Oxide inks and just in a little smudgy background. You could use any light shade to do this. So I'm just going to grab the one that I've got handy, which is in fact just spiced marmalade, but I'm not going to ink it up with any extra. I'm just going to make it really light, but it will be darker than what I've used in my sample. And I'm just doing a really light sponge around with my blending tool. So that's just going to give a pop of colour so you can see exactly and direct your eye to see exactly that sentiment. Now that will just need to dry off slightly before I stamp that sentiment. So I'm just going to leave that one to the side now. So I'm going to start colouring, and a few tips with colouring is that these markers are foolproof. They're called Tri-Blend Spectrum Noir. We stock a huge range of colours now. We've got 48 colours, I think it is, or is it 24? I can't remember now whether it's 12 in each pack or 24 in each pack. I'll have to have another look in the book, but I can't remember. But they have got 3 shades in the one marker. So it's so easy to blend, and you've got the colours you need to do a blending look. Now with my little bow, I didn't really do any blending much, but you could definitely do some blending on this. So if you were going to choose to do that, you might start off by just accenting a few places, and I'm just going to start doing it slightly different to the last one, accenting a few places with your darkest shade. So it might just be that you put in a couple of those little lines. You might just do a little bit underneath where there might be a slight shadow, and a little bit along the base and up the side. So just a little bit of a shadow look. I might do a little bit down the bottom too. Then I would go straight to the lightest side and colour in the entire piece. So some people, and I do this too sometimes, is I start with the lightest colour and go darker, or you can start, as I've done today, with the darkest colour to emphasise a few pieces, and then go lighter And then I'm going to bring in that medium, the middle one, to really blend this together. Going over where I did any of the darker work and blending it in. Now this is one of my most used colours, I must admit. So we are getting to the point where I might have to consider getting a new one because I have used and used and used it. So I've gone over with the medium and I'm going to go back to my lightest just to finish off that blending. Which is kind of cool. It gives a little bit of a shine. It gives a little feel that there's more than just a block colour going on. But as I said, and what I did in the first one over here, I did absolutely no blending. So that cute one is finished. We're also going to do this other little one. Now, that one I used just now, sorry, the green was light green blend. I don't know if I told you that, light green blend. And the colour we're going to use now is the dark red blend. And I'm going to use the darker side of it only because the lighter side to me is a bit pinky, and I want, for Christmas, I want it to look really red. So once again, this is not going to really have any blending going on. I just may go over a few pieces a couple of times just to make it look a little bit stronger in colour, but it's such a small element to colour that we don't really need to do much to make it look fancy. Now you will notice that I am leaving out a tiny little piece on the side of each ribbon. It's kind of like the underside of the ribbon that's showing, and that just helps to break up the red. So that's the little piece I'm missing out on all of them, is that underside of the ribbon that's peeking through. We're just about there. My eyes are starting to play up on me, guys. I think I'm getting to that age where I'm going to have to get them tested for those horrid reading glasses. I just noticed, especially at night time when I'm trying to colour in, that it's getting a little bit blurry, showing my age. So there you go. I have used the light green blend and the dark red blend. Right, now we're going to get on to our cute little kitten in a box. And the colours that I have chosen to use here is a grey kitten to contrast against a brown box. So the brown that I've chosen is the earth brown blend, which has got a nice light and dark, and we are going to do a little bit of blending on this one. So I'm going to go around the outside edge with the darkest shade again, just around the outside pieces, tracing along. Be a bit careful here because we are going to be bringing in another colour as well on the ribbon. Let's see, and up the side. And I am also going to be doing a little bit underneath our cute little paws because it's kind of like there's likely to be a bit of a shadow under there. And tiny little bit along the corner over here. We'll just start with that. I'm going to go, oh no, I forgot to do the middle piece as well because there will be a bit of a shadow coming up under here. A little bit down on each side. Okay, so that's how I'm going to accent it. So let me go back to my lightest side and just sort of shade the whole lot in. And you'll notice after when you just do the lightest side that it's not that well blended between the two shades because they are quite contrasting. It's quite hard to colour without putting my head into the camera, so I hope I'm not putting my head into the camera and mixing it all up for you guys. Just go around here, finish off. They're also very forgiving in that you can just colour quite haphazardly. You don't have to be very careful that you go in strokes like this or anything like this. Because they're quite juicy, they do just blend and finish off the colouring so nicely. I'm really loving this style of colouring in pens. Okay, so we've done those two shades, and I'm going to bring in the middle shade and just spread out a little bit from where that darkest colour was. Again, bring in a little bit of extra colour over it and a little bit underneath it. And on the sides. And then go back to my lightest one more time just to make sure that the colour draws right out nice and neatly. And as it dries, sorry, there's a silly little pesky fly bothering me. Just seen the odd one lately. There we go, just blending them in a little bit. And as they dry, they just give a nice finish to the box to make it look like there is a few shadows happening there. So that's the first little part done. Now I am going to grab the grey, and I almost always grab the brown grey blend as my grey of choice. I'm not sure why. I think it's just a warmer grey, and I'm generally a bit of a fan of warmer colours. So I'm going to start with the lightest shade this time, just to show you the opposite way for colouring. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap there for a pink ear, because you have to make it look pretty cute with a pink ear. So I'm going to go around that area, and I will leave the nose, obviously, too, for a cute little pink nose. And the eyes, and this one I've actually done a slightly bluish eyes, only because we brought in green in lots of other places, but I could certainly carry on with your green eyes, because cats do quite often have those green eyes, of course. Blue's a little bit unusual. Be interesting to see which way you go with your cat or dog versions. Obviously you can see I'm a bit of a cat lover, so I do tend to be drawn to the cute little kittens. So I'll just go around here for a bit of a shadow with the very darkest one now. Just a little, it's only a small space, so we can't make it too pronounced. So I'm just going, as you would when you were young, as a child, when you learned to colour in and border things, I'm going around the outside edges and the little accent marks. And then to make it less pronounced, I'm going over that and a little bit in. Oh, see, can you see that silly blowfly has chosen to follow me around at the moment? Nasty thing. And I'm just going to bring back our lightest shade once more to blend all that in. Nice and easy, doesn't require too much skill at all, yet your finished piece generally looks quite nicely coloured, which is really fun. I'll just leave that to dry off. Rather cute. Okay, now we'll add in a touch of pink. So I have got the pale pink blend here, and I'm going to go for the darkest version here, just for the ears, as is. And in fact, I might stick to the darkest version for the nose too, so it shows a little bit. And I've also got the ice blue blend as the eyes, just to fill in a tiny little bit of blue into there. Finally, we go back to our red, which is the dark red blend with the darkest side, because I prefer that colour for Christmas. And I'm just literally going to colour in the ribbon. So obviously you can change the colours of your ribbons and things. You don't need to stick to what I'm doing. It is just one idea. You may only have a couple of colours to colour in with, or you might just be using colouring in pencils or watercolour paints, or even you can use your water brush with our ink pads to colour in as well, which is always a cool effect. With the markers, it's a stronger finish. The colour is much more saturated. With the watercolours or with the ink and the water brush, it is definitely going to be a lighter finish. So there's that one completed. We've got one left to go. Right, I might as well start with the hat while I'm using this dark colour. Now the little Santa hat would probably have a white pom-pom on the end, so I'm going to leave that bit white or clear at this stage. Go up and over, and once again I'm not worrying about shading too much for the hat because I prefer this dark red. I didn't want to bring in too much of the lighter red that goes a bit pinky. And we've got some little lights tangled around this cute kitten, so I'm just going to have red and green lights like our sample. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Whoops, I probably coloured in one that I shouldn't have, but that's okay. We'll make it work. What other ones? I should be focusing more, shouldn't I? I'm just starting to colour the whole lot in. That's possibly enough. Maybe I'll do this one, seeing as I played with the wrong one before. That will do. Right, so I'll go back to my green, which was the light green blend, and I'll use the darkest side of that as well for a bit of vibrancy. Fill in my other little lights. Aren't they cute, all tangled up? Who's got a little pet, cat or pup, a little dog that likes to play with all the Christmas decorations? I think I've probably got one this year that's going to be a bit of a nuisance. She was last year, and I think she's still young enough to be a bit of a nuisance. Pale pink shade, pale pink blend, I should say, to do the little bits at the base of the feet. And the cute little nose. And now I'm going to bring in a new colour, which is the gold brown blend. So just to have a contrast between the box and the little kitty, I'm going to use this gold brown blend. It's quite a neat shade. It's almost kind of a vanilla look. I'm going to start with the light side again this time. And I'm going to cover over the whole area with the light side. Colouring is not really one of my fortes, but I absolutely love doing it. Just relaxing, you can just quietly think of other things while you're colouring and get a cute look at the end. The one thing to remember though when you're colouring in is that it will seep through with these inks because they are quite a strong inky finish, the alcohol markers. So that is why it's quite a nice idea to actually cut out the shapes and colour in as opposed to just stamping directly on the backgrounds of things if you're going to use markers. Alright, so we'll just go around this little kitty. I think my older two cats will be fine with the Christmas tree, although my, if you know my cats, I've got one that's called Puzzle, and he's our middle-aged cat, I guess, but he's still such a cute little youngster when it comes to wrapping paper. So the tree he does hide behind and poke through his head through, but he doesn't tend to play with the toys on top of the tree. But he certainly loves the wrapping paper when that comes out. So we almost have to leave the wrapping paper out for a little while on Christmas Day just so that he can have a bit of fun with it. Right, now I'm going to go around the edge with the darkest shade of this. And it's quite dark when you first do it. I'm just going to do a few little spots. Really might be a bit of a shadow, and I might make his tail look quite distinctively different. With a few dark patches here. And his little toes. Pretty cute. I'll just define that too. Now bringing in the middle colour will just help blend this out. And remember, as it dries, it helps to create a nice soft graduation of colour. Pretty sweet. I'm just going to do a tiny bit of this lighter shade over some of these other marks. Pretty cute. And if you want it to blend even more, you go back to the lightest shade and go over the lot. Such fun pens. I absolutely love them. Make us all look like pros. Right, so the last thing to colour in here is to go back to that fun grey, the brown grey blend, and I'm going to use the darkest side of it to do this little ball of light and strings. I'm just going to colour the entire section in. How is your colouring going, guys? It's a really good opportunity to start gathering some of these markers as things like these sorts of cards. So you're going to use them quite a lot on all the cards. It's worth having them. So there you go. We got 4 pieces, all beautifully coloured and ready to be put on our card. And the last thing we'll do first before we stick that on is to stamp our sentiment. So if I go back to my little set, I'm going to stick to this wishing you a perfect Christmas. Oh no, actually I might use Meowie Christmas because I can. But there is Happy Holidays if you're doing a dog, which could be pretty cute as well. Right, so I get one more block. Meowie Christmas, and we'll stick to our black ink. Where did I put my black ink? Oh, there it is. Inking it all up. When you ink up, it's a good idea to double check you're not getting extra on the sides because you don't want to spoil your finished look with little lines unintended. However, that always gives you a excuse, I guess, to add a few extra blings as well. So if you do make a little liney mistake, you can generally cover them up with some bling. So there we go, that bit's all ready to roll. I'll get my base. Now the base comes like this with a pre-score in it. You'll see that there's a raised side and an indented side. So it's actually that indented side that we're going to use for the outside, if that makes sense. So you folded it towards the raised side. So that's our base. We're going to stick this on, and as I say, you could easily be foam taping bits to have them all stand out. I might just use our lovely smooth tape runner. This is a refillable tape runner, which is great because we don't like chucking out too much plastic, but it also has quite a long length of tape in it, so it's better value than the previous refillable tape runner we had, which I'm really pleased about. Okay, so we've got that one ready to roll. We have now got our cute little kittens to place on, and I am going to use foam tape for these guys. So I'm going to use thin foam tape, as in the thickness of it is the thinner version, and that's going to go behind this one because this one's sitting a bit further back. Now, if you did the album retreat or you've done any of our Close to My Heart classes, you'll see some of the ladies there with Close to My Heart absolutely pile the foam tape on, which is kind of fun, but I don't think you need to pile it on quite as much as they do. They do end up with a really good finish. I'm just going to leave that one to the side. So this one I'm just going to pop on to the side first. Such a sweet little kitten. And then this next one I'm going to have raised a little bit more. So because of that, I'm going to use our thicker tape. You can see it's a deeper thickness. So I'm just going to put a few pieces of this on. You can get our foam tape already in circles, little circles pre-sized for you, or you can get, as I'm using, these reels of foam tape, so you can cut the sizes you wish to use. I actually find the pre-sized circles so handy when I'm doing just little bits raised all the time. I could have used it on this one too, I just didn't have them over with me. So we'll overlap those. That looks rather cute, and we're going to pop the bow directly above this one, just to say that that's the cute little gift you're getting in the box, which is a pretty awesome gift. Okay, so I like to position this one just slightly overlapping so we don't have too big a gap between the two. And then we've got our little bow over here. And I might actually go back to my less thick and just use that piece that I pre-cut to put our little bow over here. Doesn't it look cute? Now to finish it off, you can see I've actually used some little sequins from our shaker sequins, but I'm here going to use up some other little gold gems that I've got floating about. So I generally use sort of a big one and a little one. You can slide these off too, which is a really nice way to ensure the sticky remains with them, and especially for the little ones, that if your fingers are a bit more clumsy, it's quite nice because you can get your fingers around them. So that looks rather sweet, and that is all there is to it to create that cute little card. Obviously, you can now put a nice little saying on the inside. So I could put wishing you a perfect Christmas on the inside, just to finish it off, if that's this little saying you'd like to have. You could also grab your envelope and do a cute little bow in the corner, or put one of these little kitties on the front as well that you can colour in. Just remembering that it will seep through your colour, so you should put a little bit of a scrap piece of card in between as you colour in, so that it doesn't seep all the way through to the back, because they are quite juicy. Here's the finished card, and I've just added a touch of liquid pearls on the hat of the larger kitty just to finish it off. Lots of fun, this kit.